Hello, Rick Sneed here. This tip is something of a secret that even a number of our seasoned users haven't discovered. Imagine you're analyzing thousands of publications and you need to identify among all the authors and among all the affiliations or assignees not only who works where, but focus on the authors from a particular company. Using VantagePoint to group lists using Matrix is the perfect answer to this challenge. For this tip, we're going to be working with Matrix and lists found under the Analyze tab and groups from the Refine tab. The idea is to use co-occurrence matrix to identify documents where the items in one field have in common the items in a second field. For example, a matrix of inventors versus assignees will identify those patents having inventors from the same company. This is what co-occurrence matrices are all about, discovering intriguing field combinations that further the analysis. What isn't as obvious is using a matrix as a tool to group a list of inventors or assignees. By common information, I'm referring to using a co-occurrence matrix to group items in one list by what these items share in another list. For example, a co-occurrence matrix of inventor versus assignee or author versus affiliation helps identify in what companies or research institutions individuals are located. Other field combinations help to identify technology focus of an assignee or the types of research by an author. The countries where companies innovate or from what countries journal publications are received. Even identifying down to the individual words and phrases from an assignee's patent claims. Before we jump into the demo, a few images of the steps involved in this case with identifying in the sample data the inventors working with Tokiyama. With the matrix on the left, having selected all the inventors for Tokiyama and then right-clicking to Add Row Selection to Group, it's possible to add a group to the inventor list and call it Tokiyama, as shown on the right. As a result, from all the inventors in the dataset, we have identified who is from Tokiyama. It's a very easy process, and all you need to remember is the difference between adding row and column selections to groups. I always make the list I plan to group the rows in my matrix. Now let's take a look. Okay, well, let's begin with the first part of our demo. We're going to open up a matrix, and you can do that from several locations. Like here we are on the home page, and we can open up matrix here, giving us the ability to build matrix, or from our Analyze tab, as we mentioned earlier. So open up matrix, and I'm going to build a matrix where the rows are the authors, which I'm going to be grouping. So our inventors. So let's take a look at inventors. And I have a field that I've copied without any groups on it, and then also my assignee field. And I also have a copied field that's been cleaned, but also the groups removed. So let's pull that up, and you'll see right away that here we have all of the Tokiyama inventors, all of the 3M, and so on and so forth on down the line. And if I select the column for Tokiyama, I'm going to highlight the intersection with each of the inventors from that particular assignee. And I right-click, I'll add selection to group, and I'll just give it the company name. So we have here Tokiyama. Let's add 3M. Just select the column, add to group, 3M. And then we'll go with Dentsply and add to group. So there. So we should have on the inventor list, this inventor cleaned list, the groups for these three companies. So if I go over and build a new list, and I'll build it from this particular button, and I'll type in inventor, to get me close to where I want to go. Open that up, and there we are. Here are three companies. Now I would like to make a sub-data set, and it's just a matter of selecting all of the records within that particular group and going over to the Refine page, create sub-data set of the selection, and click OK. And you'll see there was nothing in that field for this particular company, but so we have this new data set, and we can name it and so forth. For the second part of our demo, we'll be looking for technical focus of a number of different companies. So we'll be building a matrix of the international classes versus the company names or the assignees. So let's pull up the matrix pop-up window, and we will put in as our rows, which are going to be international classes, and select the international classes, of which there's a good number. And then we're going to go with assignee. So if we go for assignee and we have our copied field that has no groups on it, and select it and go through the same exercise as we did before. So if we select the column and add row selection, and it's Tokiyama, 3M, and then supply. Okay, so now when we open this list of these IPCs, we should see the three groups. Open up list and put in, and you'll notice a little plus here. That tells me that there are groups, of which you can see down here there are three, and here we have them. So if you want to be able to compare these three companies to understand where their IPCs are unique and where their IPCs are in common, look for the tip on list comparison. Thank you. We hope you found this tip helpful and time well spent. Grouping lists from a matrix is useful for when you want to make sub-data sets of only the documents in a group, or to prepare for list comparison, something that we'll be discussing in our tip series. Contact us at this email for further information.